I'm going to show you how attaching standards to assignments with traditional grading can provide data and save time for teachers. Let's look at how this can be useful for grades K through 2.
Kindergarten through second grade teachers at our traditional grading schools grade students on an SNU scale for each core area at the end of each quarter and at the end of the year. So they do not typically enter assignments in the grade book. However, they could enter assignments for the purpose of grouping students and tracking achievement on individual standards with their students. So in this grade book, I have set up 3 assignments and I've attached standards to each. This is all made up. There is nothing real about the data that is in here. So looking at the assignments, you can see that standards are attached. Some of them have multiple standards. And so if I click on the assignment, I've made it collected only, which means there's just a check mark when it was collected, which could also be an observation bias of a student. And you can see the standards that have been scored. So then when I go to the progress charm, clicking on traditional really doesn't give me any useful information. But if I go to the standards progress, I can see all of the standards. This is ELA, grade 2. These are the individual standards. There is a grade distribution bar for each standard. As it is assessed, that bar will populate with according to how the student scored. So for this particular standard, it's been assessed 2 times, and clicking on that icon will take me to the assignments. And this shows me that 18 students were at a level 3, which is green and means consistently shows mastery. A level 2, which is yellow and means inconsistently shows mastery. So 18 of my students are either consistently or inconsistently showing mastery. And none of my students are in the red bar, which means no mastery. So let's look at another one. If I look, let's take this one. It's been assessed 2 times. 15 students are either at a level 3 or a level 2, and 3 students are at a level 1. Now, if I click on that bar, I can see who the students are that were a level 1, the level 2s, and the level 3s. So how useful that would be as I make my groupings for remediation or reteaching or reassessment. Another way is by looking at individual student progress. So if I click on a student, and let me go back and do that again, I've chosen standards progress and the student, and you can see how that particular student has scored on each standard. So this is very useful information to share with parents as the year progresses. These scores do not in any way calculate for K2 students. There is no calculation that takes place. The teacher still assigns as the overall grade for the term or the end of the year. The teacher assigns an S, an N, or a U. This page also provides teachers with a graphical view of students' progress with each individual standard. So the standard, let's look at this one that has been assessed 5 times, explain the function of nouns. So I'm going to click on that number that is a link, and it takes me to a graphical view of that student's progress. So if I click on each of the points on the line graph, it will highlight the assignment for which that student earned that score. Another feature of this that's very helpful to teachers is the judgment indicator. So looking at this student, started with a 2 on the first assessment, then a 3, held a 3, and then plunged to a 1 and back to a 2. This little icon appears just so the teacher knows, now wait a minute, this might not be a true representation of this student. anybody can have a bad day, and maybe the student did here. So that it would just tell the teacher, you need to go back and take a good look at that, at which point the teacher can always do a manual override. This graph is also a good way to show parents how their students have progressed within a parent conference.
For the next demonstration, I'm going to use a high school grade book, but this behaves the very same way for grades 3 through 12 at traditional grading schools.
For this demonstration, I'll be using the grade book of one of our high school English teachers. This is an English 2 course, and we'll look first at quarter 1. So let's see how the grade book is set up. She has chosen category weighting, and she's using 2 categories. Assignments in the test category will carry a weight of 90% of the quarter 1 grade. Assignments in the performance task category will account for 10% of the quarter 1 grade. And she has the very same setup for grade 2. Excuse me, for quarter 2. Now let's look at the assignment list. She has attached standards to each of the assignments in the test category. Teachers can attach multiple standards to an assignment, or they can just attach one standard to an assignment. When a teacher grades or scores the assignment, they enter a traditional score for the assignment, and these traditional scores are the ones that are used to calculate the quarter or semester or final grade, as well as GPA, class rank at the high school level. For the standards, the teacher enters a score of 1, 2, or 3, with 1 meaning no mastery has been shown, a 2 means that mastery has been shown inconsistently, and a 3 means that that student consistently shows mastery of that standard. Going back to the assignment list, I want to show you how easy it is for a teacher to attach standards to an assignment. So we will look at this one. So there are no standards attached to this assignment at this point. And the teacher can do this when she sets up the assignment, or she can go back and do it later. So this assignment was already set up, so now I'm just going to edit it by adding the standards. So I click on Add Edit Standards. I check the standards that I want, save and close. And now when I go to score this assignment, I will add standards scores as well. And it is so quick and easy to score this. If everybody basically scores a 3, you enter the 3 all the way down, and then change the ones that maybe need to be changed. So that's very quick and easy. Now let's look at how teachers can view progress of students. So I'm going to go to the progress charm, and first let's look at traditional. This is a traditional grade distribution graph, and this shows that for quarter 1, there were 4 A's, 9 B's, 5 C's, 7 D's, and 1 E given to students. If you expand this, you can see what student got the F, the D's, the C's, the B's, and the A's. So if I switch to quarter 2, because grades have already begun to populate the grade book for quarter 2, I now can look at a comparison between quarter 1 and quarter 2, and see that these students have gone down at this point. This one has gone up. These have stayed the same. So you can compare any 2 terms. Now let's look at standards progress. For each standard, there is a distribution bar, a grade or score distribution bar. So this shows that for this standard, 25 students scored either a 3 or a 2, and 1 student scored a 1. So let's go down and look at another one. Let's look at this one. Cite strong and thorough textual evidence. There have been 2 assignments given to assess this standard, and when I click on that icon, I can see the 2 assignments, and I could drill down to see those and the scores on those. And if I look at the grade distribution bar, this shows me that these are the students who scored a 1 for this particular standard. These are the students who scored a 2, and these are the students who scored a 3 in quarter 1. But if I look at the assessment for quarter 2, you see that that is entirely changed. Well, it's changed some. Now there's only 1 student who has scored a level 1 on this standard. So that can be some very useful information to teachers, because each of these standards, by the end of the grading term, any standards that have been assessed will have the grade distribution, and the teacher can very quickly see how she needs to group students to reteach, remediate, or reassess for individual standards.